Hello everyone, welcome to the first video on my channel, and today's video is actually about game dev, which is something that I've recently gotten into. Kind of just got into it because I needed to make a game for my friend's birthday because I like getting into new skills, especially when it comes to like birthday gifts. I feel like it's nice to have variety in there. I basically needed like to start somewhere, obviously. I found that Bracky's video on how to make a game in Godot was the most helpful. I think there's like a few steps that you kind of have to do when you first want to get into game dev. The first one is the game engine, and I think pretty quickly I did realize that I wanted to do Godot because I actually saw another indie game developer make videos about using Godot, and that was also a big inspiration. So that's kind of the beginning of it. There were some issues that I had to deal with while making the game. Obviously, to make the game itself, you have to make a sprite sheet, and I think it's not really talked about how important it is to like have the proper dimensions set up for your sprite sheet, because one of the issues that I ran into is that my sprites, they weren't like one block wide or tall. Like the dimensions that I was using like didn't match up with the dimensions that Godot was using, and I think that like proved to be a really big issue for me, and I had to go in and change the sprites a bunch of times. It was kind of stressful because you kind of do have to revamp your sprites a bit, especially if you're doing animation and you have to like fix animations frame by frame. So that's like one thing that I would keep in mind. Secondly, I do think that, again with sprite management, so I had my player sprites and I had my terrain all in one sprite file, which when you're doing the world building and you're like using the tile map, it proves to be a very, very big issue. Like you can see here, because this wasn't like properly fitting in, I had to go in and how do you fix this again? Okay, this is a big glitch that I did not see before. What the heck? So yeah, again, make sure that your things are in the dimension that they're supposed to be. I guess you could do it like this, but well, I guess there's no issue to it if it's not a physics layer, you know, because you wouldn't like bump into it. Anyways, I guess the third issue that I had, or it wasn't really an issue, it was more like a question of how big to make the background. The background is bare bones. I just made like a background. For me, I kind of just flipped it around and made sure that, on my screen at least, when you move, you can't see the sides or the edges at all. Didn't really have many issues making the game because it is pretty simple. It's just a platformer, you know, very beginner friendly. But the death animation and the checkpoints. If you play the game, right, you kind of have to go through it all by yourself. If you die, you start out right at the beginning. There's no shortcuts or anything, there's no cutscenes. Not cutscenes, what are they called? Checkpoints. And the reason for that is that I literally, for the life of me, could not figure out how to add that in. I followed like 3 different tutorials and it was not working at all. The only way that I can think of fixing it was, like, let's say that the cutscenes were at the beginning of each season. So it would be like making sure that this season itself is a scene. But for me, I only have one scene and that's like the entirety of the map. So when I write the code, it just goes back to this. I hope that makes sense. I did, however, manage to add a death animation in, which also was not in the tutorial. I mean, the fade out animation at least was in the tutorial. And the way that I did that was basically adding a collision body onto the area that you step into, and then you have a animation play, which is the fade in and out animation. So it kind of works like that, and it's pretty like easy to set up. I just wish I could have added checkpoints around the map, because I do know that like this, for some reason, is really difficult for people to adjust to. I think something about the reaction time that the game itself has when it's processing like what keys you're pressing is a bit difficult for people to get used to. But other than that, that's like about it. Very simple game, very nice game as well, I think. I really liked it. I really liked making it, and it does give me a lot of ideas for the next game that I might make. So yeah, I hope watching this video kind of helped break down the process and not feel as daunting, because I know that going into game dev, it's kind of like, oh, it's a difficult thing to do or this and that, but it's really not. You don't even need a lot of art skills, coding skills. Like, I did very little code for this game and it works pretty well. And even if you do have to deal with code, I feel like GDScript is a pretty easy program to get used to, and again, Brackeys has some really good tutorials for that as well. So yeah, I think like whatever kind of game that you want to make, you probably would be able to. I hope everybody enjoyed the video and that it wasn't too like rambly and all over the place. I didn't really have a script for this. I just kind of wanted to talk about the game and the things that I dealt with while making it. And I remember the first 2 days I was really freaking out, so I was like, oh my god, I have so many things to deal with. But yeah, that's all for today. I hope everyone's having a good day and that the video is a bit helpful.